This is David Toulis, and there's well, actually, it was this morning. No, it was Sunday morning at about 2:40. There was something of note on the Earth itself, a movement of the Earth, also called a temblor. And we have on the phone John Wright, who is the president of Chattanooga Area Emergency Readiness. John, what happened very early Sunday morning in the Chattanooga area that maybe my listener does not know about?
Well, there was a small tremor, 2.6, in the area north of Varnell, Georgia, between Varnell and the Tennessee state line. 2.6 earthquake isn't really that significant. Basically, what they do is remind us that there is a much bigger fault line that it's actually a system. If one were to get onto Google Earth and then take a look at it, you'd see a big N-shaped fault system that encompasses both the New Madrid Fault in the West Tennessee, runs up the Mississippi Valley up into Illinois, and then swings back down south through Kentucky, Tennessee, down into North Alabama, and then shoots up again up into Virginia. That area, which is our area, is the East Tennessee seismic zone. Everybody tends to focus on the New Madrid Fault, which is capable of a 7 or 7.5 quake. But the East Tennessee seismic zone, the papers that come out of the Emergency Management Agency of Alabama, says that that's capable of a 7.5 also, which, to give some kind of metric to, 7.5 is what nearly wiped San Francisco off the face of the map back, I guess, about 1908. So it's a significant fault system. And we get these smaller tremblers, these threes or smaller, a few times a year, just to remind us that this thing is active and it's real and people need to be prepared for it.
And now you are the president of Chattanooga Area Emergency Readiness. In a nutshell, what does your group do, and how high on the list of things to worry about, things to be prepared for, are earthquakes, which you're suggesting could be, if one comes in the Chattanooga area, could be a real wrecking ball? What are your areas of concern?
Well, my organization, Chattanooga Area Emergency Readiness, we call it CARE for short. Our website is chatready.org, CHATTREADY. And basically what we are is we're a homegrown CERT organization, Community Emergency Response Teams. We try to elevate the community's understanding of the need to be emergency ready. And we have a training program in place so that people can be their own first responders, both to their own families and then to their neighbors or coworkers, wherever they are, if a disaster occurs. And there are a list of things that could happen. And this is FEMA, and this quake in Georgia, that would be GEMA. They all say that people need to be prepared for it. Well, our organization is out there trying to help people be prepared for it. According to TEMA, the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, earthquake is the most devastating thing that they expect to happen. And it's not a if it happens, it's going to be a when it happens, because the activity along the New Madrid Fault, they've been expecting something there for about the last 25 years, maybe 30 years. And so it is a very serious threat that people just need to be prepared for. And that's not, doomsday prepper kind of stuff. This is the science behind it. And people need to have their documentation in order, because at a time like that, there will be loss and they're going to want to be made whole. They're going to need to have the material goods necessary to stay in place, because this kind of a disaster will knock out infrastructure, roads. A recent report, it goes back to 2014, Director Whaley of TEMA was talking about how there would be almost 2,800 roads and bridges in Middle and West Tennessee that would be destroyed if New Madrid were to pop. And he was talking to an audience out there. The same kind of speech given here, it would have very similar numbers. It's going to knock out roads. It's going to knock out bridges, power, water lines, fuel transport lines. All of these things would be damaged in any kind of a real quake. So people have got to be prepared to survive where they are, and it's their responsibility. But, there's this, after even an earthquake, you see these signs, FEMA, where are you? And it's, the government does not have the assets to take care of everybody, so we have to be able to take care of ourselves.
Right, and John, what you're saying is really kind of an argument for local economy. Our idea on local economy is that we have the means for self-sufficiency in many areas, financial, economic sufficiency. Though of course we appreciate an intergalactic economy, a global economy, and a national economy. There's a lot to say for what can be done here in the way of business and sort of local interdependence, as opposed to being part of a national an international system of global credit and so on. We have
exactly.
Our peril is that we have centralized systems like highways and bridges and power grids. Those are create many benefits, much prosperity, and extraordinary efficiencies in the marketplace, letting people specialize. And the picture you're saying of an earthquake that could come from the New Madrid Fault and affect Chattanooga and many places west is that these central systems which create efficiency now don't work, and so we have to have some means of self-reliance. And we're talking with this is David Toulis. We do thank you for tuning in. 92.7. We're talking with John Wright, who's the president of Chattanooga Area Emergency Readiness, and it's chatready.org. That's the website, chatready.org, about the Temblor, the earthquake 2.6, a minor affair north of Dalton in Varnell. I'm looking here. This is from TV9's website, which had the report yesterday. And John Wright, thanks very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Sure.
And we're hearing just details about this minor earthquake that did no damage, but which is as John says, a reminder of subterranean doings, shiftings, giant pressures, building. At some point, things give way, and there is a violent shifting of the plates that make up the Earth. This is David Toulis, and there was, in another sense, a little bit of an earthquake on ML King Boulevard yesterday at Bessie Smith Center. There were 200 or 300 young people, high school students from Brainerd High and Howard School of Technology, and a couple other high schools in the area, and taking part in an event regarding, you might say, temblors in the marketplace. Temblors, minor earthquakes of people thinking about businesses that could make a profit, could serve customers. And I went to this event sponsored by North Shore Fellowship and some other entities in Chattanooga to hear what these pitches are, and they are proposals for limited liability companies, and maybe some were SPs, sole proprietors, or sole proprietorships. And what we got a taste of was a kind of rush of about a dozen sets of young people, high school students. Some quite young, making a pitch. There were assignees who were presidents, assignees who were CFOs, chief financial officers, COOs, and marketers, and however many people there was a high sounding position for each one. And launch is an effort started by Hal Bowling from that church. And it is an effort to get people who are sort of trapped in the factory school system, trapped in poor neighborhoods with poor access, weak access to social capital as well as financial capital, to get them to see that there is a real world out there, and which you my listener, you can read about in the Wall Street Journal, you can read about in your Money magazine or online. But these young people often have sort of restricted perspectives. They don't think really in terms of other people. And when you're in a business, the whole practice of considering starting a business is one where you have to think about somebody else. You have to first of all think what that person's problems are, and then what and do you have means of solving that problem? And then if you calculate that you do, you say, well, can I solve that person's problem and have him pay me enough so that I can have enough means to solve the next person's problem, right? That would be customer number 2, right? You got to have that first customer, and then you have the second, and then the 10th, and then the 50th. And so in these presentations on the stage, with a backlit by a projector giving the company name, and then always in every sequence of young people that came up, there was one page that was there on the screen, really too short of a time for me to make serious notes from, but one page showing the breakdown, how in 1 month you have this much cost, this much cash flow, this many sales, and then by the 4th month, all of them, of course, deliriously optimistic about what would be arrived at in the way of cash flow, sales, market penetration, and so on from these companies. One, I think the second company I saw, I arrived a minute late with a son, was exact location. It was a wristwatch that children wear when they go, say, to Lake Winnie, and the mom there can have on her phone, she can have that watch connected, so the child can run free. The mom can have a sense of where that child is during the time at Lake Winnie. And the startup cost was thought to be $70,000. The unit cost for a unit is said to be 100. No, one unit is 1,000 watches. So the unit cost is $5,000. That is $5 a watch. So that was the first one. And parents can track the watch on their own phones. The second one was Vend Masters, 3 young women. The problem there was you have vending machines all over, and here now though you have one that's $1,000 a pop to buy one. That seemed very inexpensive for such a fine machine that we were told holds 3 times the number of products in half the space. Okay, that's a miracle. And that was 3 young women. That and of course we have the idea. Well, you find this wonderful machine in hotels and lobbies and car repair shops, and so, well, what about, use the internet? How do you get people in? How do you the question of how do you get into a single gas station is would be enough to baffle a crew of 3 probably for a week. But that's those are all things that were thought of to some extent, and the details left for the future, right? And I think the one that won the major award was J-Jack. No, let's see, the winner of the afternoon was a company that, here it is, the company that's called Build a Better Me, and the only one of the dozen that was a nonprofit. And it has as far as it actually exists, it has a charitable interest to help job seekers. At the beginning of the presentation, a young woman stood in the light there with jeans with a hole in the knee, the picture of a job seeker, right? So here, this group of people will take a job seeker and take away her dull look, take away her bad clothes, style her hair, make her presentable. And the startup cost was said to be $730, and it needs 9 customers a month to cover the costs. And that it won with David Banks, the minister of the gospel, is one of the judges, one of 4 judges. Whether it won for its economic viability, I can't say for sure, but it won the leading $1,000 in cash and a high-level notebook. And this is David Toole. I do thank you for tuning into my program. Here now is Darrell Rochelle. He was a young man I met some time back, and in the chocolate business. And we could say he came from a disadvantaged background, and he had this to say. This is David Toulis, and we're here and wanted to have you hear from him. We also saw young people from another group called Sent a Bag, which is when you send packages through the mail. Sometimes they don't smell great, and they smell of plastic, they smell of formaldehyde. And that was one a bag that's said to be biodegradable, and was thought. It was thought that these bags might make a success. Another one was Just Laugh, and it involved scented socks, which one of the young entrepreneurs was wearing a striped socks, not to be. Okay, here we go. Here's Darrell Rochelle and it's not working. But this is David Tools. Now, there were several others I wanted to mention. Vend Masters, a vending machine. We had J-Jack, which was a convenience service, which essentially was a bit of furnishing. And I was a little surprised that this group made it so high in the program. Believe it won second place. Let's see, did it win? Yeah, J-Jack was the second winner, $800 and a Chromebook. It has as a concept of about a 4.5 foot tall dresser with also an ironing board on the side, and with a $35 unit cost. I thought, well, that's very inexpensive. That must mean that this is mobile home furniture. And the boast was, in a way, delightful, in a way perhaps amusing. We actually break even in the first month with a unique selling proposition. Customers are college students, and as I'm remembering, the whole getup was just a hair under $200. Another one that several, 2 or 3 of these
live at the annual launch pitch competition.
This is Darrell Rochelle program.
And I think that the average listener should want to know about this competition, because what it does is it teaches kids in underserved neighborhoods. It teaches them how to turn their hobbies into money, into a successful business. It gives them another stream of, I would say, another stream of revenue for their family. This competition, formerly teaching students how to start a business, has rubbed off into several families, and then had so many parents come through the high school or come through the adult competition, or come through the adult program that Launch offers. I was fortunate to be your MC for the day, keeping us on time here. I actually won the first competition that Launch did in his high school career. I won that competition with my business called Lingua Coco. And what we do is we infuse ingredients from around the world into chocolate to raise a cultural awareness. That was the first business I started. I'm actually getting ready to relaunch that business in my new city. I actually live in Nashville now. So I'm in Nashville, finishing school at Tennessee State University, relaunching my business, as well as being an avenue of resources and support for different millennials and students and centennials, as well as one of Launch's partner organizations in Nashville called Corner to Corner. So that's just some of the things that I'm doing, and that was my involvement here at this pitch competition. But we had 4 inner city schools from Chattanooga to come and pitch their idea against each other for a chance to win seed money, as well as money for their education if they choose to not pursue their business endeavors after this program.
Well, Darrell Rochelle will this event create an actual business. Some of these businesses seem rather fruity and with very, very optimistic revenue projections. Is there a real material among the dozen or so that we heard from today that might possibly be a business or 2 or 3? What's your estimate on the survivability of these?
So, I mean, we always say that it's hard to, at this point in life, we're giving the students the resource. We're expecting them to want to run a business, but we're not thinking like, oh, every business here is going to be sustained. Of course, they're still young and they have a lot of growing to do. These are juniors in high school. So it may be a year or 2 from now before they pick this idea up and really say that they want to go with it. So this is where we come in and steal that alleyway for them to pick this business up later and go with it. Out of the businesses here today, I see the winning team to continue with their business just because they were so close to their fertility and they have their relationship array of work to go ahead and still be able to give them that. So I see the winning team with their high capability of continuing their businesses.
So what they're really learning is how to ask the right question, get product. The process is not really they create this, but that they go make all the steps that at some point later in the future might actually end up in a real business.
Yes, sir. So it's just taking a problem, creating a solution that you can make money from, which is something that they're going to need to know in their personal lives. You know, how do I take this problem? How do I turn it into a great solution?
This is David Tools, and I do thank you. That was Darrell Rochelle, who was the MC.
Darrell Rochelle, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Meeting yesterday at Launch Chattanooga. And the idea of entrepreneurship, again, is thinking about other people. And so if we have young people from a disadvantaged background, they're often trained to think only of themselves. And that's not a Christian way of thinking, but often there's not much spiritual benefit, not much spiritual nourishment in the homes of some of these young people. But here, even parallel to Christianity, they're being taught in the entrepreneur scheme proposal effort of Launch Chattanooga to think about the other and make arrangements to figure out how to get a service or a benefit to that other person, which is to say the customer. So that's what Launch Chattanooga is about. There's a Christian interest in that. There's a Christian thesis behind it, and that is service to the other, being other-centered. Of course, that's the argument here on the David Toulis Show, local economy and free market. Let's do things personally. Let's make a difference locally. And think about the other. Think about the oppressed. Think about the poor. Think about the needy, and we will be a better place. And we need to do it not through proxies, not through the state, but individually and personally. That is to say, you, my listener, and this is David Toulis.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio.